and post-slavery generations. And it is just because the way culture is formed and created. Culture is basically created when groups of people live under shared conditions and repeat behaviors for generation after generation. Those repeated behaviors become tradition, and tradition becoming normalized is what we later will label as culture. An example to make this clear, let's take a look at an analogy. Imagine there's a large open field with no paths, but you need to get to the other side of the field. At first, people will walk in different directions, but over time, most people take the same route because it's the safest, fastest, or most practical way to get to where you need to go. After enough people walk that same route day after day, year after year, a dirt path will eventually begin to form. Eventually, that grass will disappear on the trail and the path will become more obvious. And at this point, no one will question why the path is there anymore. People don't even think about it. They just follow it. That's exactly how culture is created. The path is created through repeated patterns similar to culture. So when it comes to Black culture, we're often looking at traditions or cultural patterns that was passed down, creating paths that can be traced back to slavery and post-slavery systems. And I want to make it clear, before continuing, that I understand that everything isn't because of slavery, but slavery was the starting condition that shaped adaptation. It's the open field in the analogy. So our Black ancestors started a lot of the traditions and paths that we built our current culture on top of today. So what does all this have to do with our obsession with flexing money? So today, flexing money is mostly just a cultural thing, mostly. It still has some roots tied into other things I'm going to get into, but I want to understand why it even became a cultural thing to begin with. Basically, why was that path even formed in the open field? But to understand this, we have to go back to our history. So during the beginning of slavery in America, it's important to understand that our prior culture and traditions that was passed down, basically our previous paths that we used to follow in West and Central Africa, was basically erased because the system of slavery depended on breaking identity, separating families, banning languages, and spiritual practices, all for the purpose of preventing unity, resistance, and identity. This is what essentially created our now new open field in the analogy, because we basically had to start over with creating new traditions and cultures in this new world of America where we had to live in as slaves. And during slavery, we were poor, of course, because we were working about 10 to 16 hours a day and about 6 days a week, all while receiving about $0 an hour for our services. And after slavery, we were technically free, but still forced to survive within the American system that denied us land, fair wages, education, and access to wealth, almost essentially keeping poverty as the default starting point for generations. And this created a thing called poor insecurity within the Black community. Poor insecurity is basically the anxiety that comes from living so close to financial collapse that your sense of safety, control, and self-worth feels constantly threatened. When survival is uncertain, people will look for visible proof and reassurance for themselves and others that basically say that they're not failing and they're not powerless because of their financial situation. This is because when you're constantly fighting an uphill battle and having to deal with racism and oppression and not given fair opportunity to grow financially and comfortably provide for your family, you create coping mechanisms to help create a new reality of your situation. And over time, that coping mechanism, it turns into placing value on things people can see, like clothing, cars, jewelry, and other symbols of success, because visibility and social validation basically becomes like an emotional armor that provides short-term relief from the fear and shame and instability tied to your living situation. And that coping mechanism is one of the main reasons why I mentioned earlier about new money concept that makes people that earn or come across a lot of money have the urge to show it off. They're still battling their prior poor insecurity. But when it comes to parts of the Black community, that coping mechanism was passed down across generations as like a survival strategy, and then became familiar, then traditional, and eventually normalized within Black communities. But not because it defies Black culture, but because people were locked out of money and opportunities for a really long time. And we basically turned that insecurity into a beautiful, creative, and fun culture that has continuously influenced the world. Also, I want to make this clear. Poor insecurity is not a Black thing. I know a lot of outside cultures or people like to associate the poor experience with black people, but poor insecurity can be developed by any person or any race who grows up poor. And this isn't something that just happened back in the day. People still currently have poor insecurities and still battle with those every day if you grew up in a poor situation where you felt like you were poor and embarrassed by the situation. A lot of people are still battling that today. But how does all this connect to money phones and spreads? Well, physical money is just another symbol of success, like jewelry and cars. Stacks or spreads of money is basically like trophies, showing you beat the game in a sense. And as mentioned, it's emotional armor that provides the relief from the fear, shame, and instability tied to one's current situation, whether they're still living in an unstable situation, or even just they have money now, but it can still be tied to their insecurities of their poor upbringing. But this only explains why one person does it. This does not explain how it became the cultural phenomenon the way it is today. So I believe it became a cultural thing because of two main amplifiers. And these amplifiers basically allow black people a way to earn life-changing amounts of money like never before. So, what are those two amplifiers? First, we have the rise of the drug entrepreneurs in the late 1960s, or as most people like to call them, drug dealers. Drug dealers are important because they were one of the major inspirations in the black culture because a lot of them had the rags to riches story, meaning they came from poor families or situations, and through their business of selling drugs, they were able to accumulate large sums of money. And with their business being illegal, this meant that most didn't put their money in banks. And not to mention that a lot of black people also didn't trust banks because of what happened with the Freedmen Bank in 1874, causing a lot of black people basically to lose their money and trust in banks. So this basically meant that a lot of successful drug dealers had a lot of cash on them. And this became one of the moments where having stacks of money in your possession became a symbol of success and that you made out of your prior situation. And these successful drug dealers went on to inspire black culture for many years and generations in the ways on how they showed off that they had money. But a lot of their lifestyle aesthetics was only known within the culture through word of mouth or through seeing the things they purchased. And a lot of their lifestyle wasn't documented at the time. Like they weren't on no Forbes list or anything like that because their work was illegal, but their lifestyle was still influential to the black community. And now we get to the second amplifier, and I'm sure y'all probably can guess it, which is the creation and evolution of hip hop.
Hey, understand me? Little Floyd shows him a big bag. Money means out there in Vegas gambling. You see that? You can look at that. You just close up if you want to look at that. You can look at that and try to figure out how much that is. Huh? Figure out how much that is. A stash, nigga. This is a stash. You know what I'm saying? Some of that other shit. If your shit can fit in a night box, it ain't enough. You know what I'm saying? It's way up.
So, hip-hop has a lot of influence from the drug dealer culture and their lifestyle aesthetics when it comes to how you show people you are getting money now. So, when rappers started getting a lot of money from the rap music, you'll start to see the evolution of the ways rappers showed off that they had money. And it didn't start off with showing off stacks of cash when it came to like music videos and such. Because you gotta remember, before social media, there was only a couple ways to engage with your favorite rapper to basically get a glimpse of their lifestyle as a famous rapper, which was usually through, obviously, the music, of course, music videos, concerts, award shows, and magazines. And as technology improved, we also started getting things like blogs and then social media, which allowed the fans to have more access to the artist's lifestyle. And I'm not saying early rappers didn't talk a lot about money in their music, but what I am saying is a lot of them didn't show off stacks of money when it came to the music videos and those other platforms you would engage to see the artists at that time. During that time, a lot of rappers, it just started with clothes and jewelry and other symbols of success like cars and such. But then as hip-hop grew and artists started making the most money they ever have from hip-hop, and as technology grew, giving fans more ways to see the artist, we also started to see the most money start to get flexed and showed off.
Hold out, Ray, man. Hold out. Jump a jack. You need to want to work out. You muscle, you big muscle, motherfucker. What you gonna do every time they do it? When this shit get real. You know what I'm saying? I know. 1, 2, 3. Go get the album. Album dropping 223.
No, I missed it.
Oh. I said, count that up, man. Tell me, add that up. Damn. Add that up. What they see here? You deserve whatever it is, you deserve. Blues. Blues. Blues, brothers. Damn. 1.5 to be exact.
What that is, cuz? What that is, cuz? Hey, cuz, what that is, cuz? What that is, cuz?
Yeah, 1.5 to be exact. Let me get out the code here, man.
That's the speaker, man. You hear me? That's the speaker. That's the speaker.
And this was big because, as I mentioned, a lot of drug dealers are already living this lifestyle, like the lifestyle of the rapper, in the sense of having, like, you know, they had a little local fame, having a lot of money, having jewelry and cars and all that stuff. But it wasn't the same kind of spotlight that the rappers got. Rappers were allowed to show off their money and their lifestyle through all forms of media as media and technology grew freely, because being a rapper wasn't a crime, and being a rapper requires you to be on camera. So I believe a lot of earlier black culture was shaped by the coping mechanisms rooted in poor insecurity,
It's cyclical,
placing
isn't it, man?
value on visible success as a way to reclaim one's dignity and self-worth. That mindset then collided with the rise of drug dealer culture, where some black people for the first time had access to large amounts of money, becoming the new money of the black community, and creating a lifestyle aesthetic designed to prove that they were getting money. Hip-hop artists later adopted that same aesthetic, but now with a spot, a microphone and a camera, and document it for the world to see. And honestly, almost getting rewarded for documenting this lifestyle. Stacks of cash, luxury, excess. Money wasn't just earned, it was displayed for everyone to see. And over time, that repeated imagery stopped being a statement, I believe. It basically became normalized. And so now, flexing money isn't just something rappers do, it's something everyday people in the culture do too. Often without even thinking about it, creating that path in that open field of black culture. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying it's a bad thing or we need to necessarily change who we are, because I think it's cool that we are, like, you know, the flyest culture when it comes to the things we do and our need to show off and show out. I believe it give us some unique character traits, ideas, and just like a certain creativity that goes on to influence and inspire other races and cultures around the world. But I will also say that I think we should find a balance as a culture in being fly and showing off, by protecting our mental health and not letting our self-worth become so dependent on money and validation or what other people can see, but letting our self-worth be defined by our character, creativity, and sense of purpose, not just our possessions. Because when you go through periods of life and you don't have these possessions, which will happen because life is ups and downs, if you live long enough, you know you have your highs and you have your lows. And when you're going through your lows, not having those possessions will make you very depressed and eat at your soul, getting you to do things out of your character just to obtain those possessions. So I think we should be conscious of this. And I'm not saying not doing the things that we think is cool and fly, but just really being aware of how that is affecting our brain and our decision making as we go through life and grow as people. Because everything we do affects the world, and being in our best mental state during those ups and those downs. But let me know your thoughts on this topic. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I want to be clear. This is just my theory based on the history and the patterns I've seen and researched. I know that there are other factors and other historical contexts that can also explain our relationship with money and flex. This video isn't meant to be the final word, just a starting point for conversation. So, if you do see it differently, or if you know other reasons that help shape this, I genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, tell me about any story you may have with someone you know, or even yourself, about flexing money. I also know I didn't mention anything about movies, which also played a huge role in influencing us, but that's because I'm not really a movie buff. So let me know if there are any movies you believe played a role in this conversation as well, or if I just missed anything, or if you have any thoughts that can add to the conversation. Let's talk about it in the comments. But this is it for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. So, in this video, I want to answer the question of why are parents, specifically black parents, so obsessed with low haircuts?
Jacking it right now, bro. What's funny, bro? Get out my face with that camera shit, bro. What's funny, bro? Bro, my mom forced me to do that shit, nigga. If it wasn't for my mom, bro, I would not do that shit, bro. Mom, y'all niggas with dress don't respect y'all mom, bro. That's what it is, bro. My mom told me to cut my hair. I'm cutting my hair, like.
Man, say trust the process.
If my process didn't work, I'm about to make every dreadhead shot. I'm dreadhead K now, nigga. Fuck all dreadheads, nigga. I'm not jacking that shit no more. We back to wave gang, nigga. Every dreadhead I see, I'm on that. I'm cutting their hair. Y'all niggas don't respect y'all mom. That's what it is, bro. Oh, yo, bro.
So if you black, at some point, someone told you need to cut your hair. You done spent a couple months growing it. You know, it take a while to get some length on your hair, and as soon as you get a little bit of length on your hair, your parent tell you need to cut it, or you need to do something with your hair, or you can't have it out, and they give you this bald haircut or this low haircut that you have to stick with. And it really sucks because you be trying to grow it out to try to get, you know, whatever the most in-style haircut at the time. And this is a common thing. A lot of black men experience this, or black boys experience it. I'm sure some of y'all probably watching this, experiencing this right now, where you're in the house and you can't grow your hair out because your parents not going for it.
I felt like it was time, bro.
Fuck you mean it was time?
Holy shit.
Bro, get too much air, nigga. Nah, look at the sun shining on your head. Nah, bro, what was the real reason? Cause I know you didn't cut your hair off, bro.
Because of my parents, bro.
Nah.
I ain't had no choice in the matter. Either that or I'm gonna be out on the streets. Shit, I'm
Bro, what happened to the dreadhead journey?
I'm on a wave journey, bro.
Nah, they really nerfed you, bro.
Give me a few months, bro. I'm gonna be spinning, bro. Man, it don't matter for me. I'm gonna still get more women than y'all niggas with dreads.
Yeah, I know. Damn, you look like Slender Man and like pull that nigga. Wait, hold on, what you doing?
So a lot of times they'll say you can't have your hair out because it's not presentable. Or it just seems like this is some canon event where everybody has to go through this. I'm sure there's some people that y'all probably like, nah, I never had to go through that. But some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You just have to rock out this low haircut up until probably like high school. That's at least what it changed for me.
Dad forcing you to get a straight buzz cut throughout your entire childhood has to be a universal experience, bro. What is their obsession with wanting you to be bald? Straight bald. Why do they want us to be chopped so bad? And then the first time you finally get the courage to be like, hey dad, can I just get the sides off and keep the top? They look at you so crazy. They be like,
you trying to waste my money?
You trying to waste my money and not get a real haircut? No, we're taking it all off. My pops used to force me to get a straight
No guard haircut.
No guard on that bitch, straight zero, all off, bro. I never had hair as a kid, bro. As soon as it got a little too much, my dad was like, time to cut it off. And he did it himself most of the time. Straight zero. No lineup, no nothing. Bro, don't even get me started on foreign parents. Foreign parents, they look at you crazy if you try to grow your hair out. The only way to escape the buzz cut is to get your own money to pay for your own haircuts, bro. That's the only way you could escape it. And even then, when they see you get the cut, they look at you like, I don't even see a cut. Bro, you see the cut, you see the side. It's like, to them, if you don't cut it all off straight to zero, you wasted your money. If I wanted to cut it all off straight to zero, I just cut it off myself. I'll go buy the clip and do it myself. That shit is truly a canon event.
And a lot of times this conversation is tied to believing certain hairstyles will make you look ghetto or like a thug, and people are just going to stereotype you, or your parents don't want you looking like that, feeling like that. It's like it just associate long hair with some negative association with it. It's never, and when we want it, it's never about that. It's usually just like it looks cool, and that's just how we want to rock our hair. So, you know, so it could fit like the aesthetic we're trying to go for. It's never about trying to look like thugs or anything like that. But our parents always just view long hair as some type of negative connotation with that, any hairstyle that's above 2 to 3 inches of length on my hair.
Hey man, this is public service announcement to all the parents. My voice gone in the world. Can we please protest against our sons with these nappy ass hair? Every day me and mama tell me, you need to cut that. You need to cut that damn hair, man. You don't take care of it. I ain't seen you wash it since you've been growing it. It look like a ham full of Easter basket grass, man. You got leather hair now. You ain't washed it so long it look leather. It look like dirty trap house carpet. You gotta cut it, dog. Ain't nothing wrong with a low cut. Get you some waves or something, man. Cause that right there, man, you look like a Jackson 6. But at least they had an activator with grease in their head, man. Go in there and watch it in the bathroom, school bathroom. Go watch it in the school bathroom. Do something with it. Put some snow in it, wet it. It's dry as hell. You gotta cut it. You gotta, look, you gonna walk off. You gotta cut that, man. All you little dudes, you YNs wanna wear these nappy old hairstyles, man. Y'all need to cut it.
The ideas of like black hair, like long black hair, not being presentable or professional is not a new thing. This isn't like an experience just for me or just our generation. Like this has been happening for a while and this has been passed down generation of generations. And it's coming from this idea called respectability politics. So respectability politics is basically the belief that if black people behave, look, speak, and live in ways that white society or white people consider proper, that then we will be treated with respect, safety, and equality. And simple. So, in this video,
Go. You gotta, look, you gotta walk off. You gotta.
the ideas of like black hair, like long black hair, not being presentable or professional is not a new thing. This isn't like an experience just for me or just our generation. Like this has been happening for a while and this has been passed down generation to generations. And it's coming from this idea called respectability politics. So respectability politics is basically the belief that if black people behave, look, speak, and live in ways that white society or white people consider proper, that then we will be treated with respect, safety, and equality. In simple terms, if we act right, they'll treat us right. This includes things like dressing or speaking proper English, or like, you know, if you grew up in the hood or just around black people, they'll say like, you know, talking white. This is where this kind of came from. It's also can be tied to being calm, polite, and non-confrontational, following the rules perfectly. Basically avoiding anything that's seen as ghetto, loud, or too black. Presenting yourself as one of the good ones. And the reason this is because after slavery, black people were free, but still we experienced things like we was lynched. We was locked out of job opportunities where they just didn't give us jobs no matter if we was qualified or not. They locked us out of certain housings and good neighborhoods, that's with redlining, and we was locked out of educations. That's why we had to create our own colleges, our own schools. White societies basically push like ideas to other white people, stereotyping and propaganda that basically black people were violent or dirty or immoral or immature or childlike. So the black leaders of that time thought like, okay, if you're pushing all those stereotypes onto them, if we just prove that we're not that, if we prove that we're clean, we're moral, we're educated, we're respectable, they thought that white society will look at that and will have no excuse to then mistreat them. This is when respectability politics became organized and intentional. And this carried all the way into the late 1800s and early 1900s, where black churches and educators and middle-class leaders of that time pushed messages like dress modestly, or speak correctly, or avoid low behavior, don't embarrass the race. And we still have those, have similar sayings that's been passed down from that. Like if you've heard someone being like, oh, I don't want to act up in these white folk establishments or anything like that, that's coming from direct messages from the late 1800s, early 1900s. Has been passed down generations in a way of taught on how to act around white people. Because it's basically saying like your behavior doesn't just represent you, it represents all black people. And it's put enormous pressure on individuals to change the way they are to fit in this agenda that white people deemed as the correct way to act or the correct way to behave or present yourself. And respectability politics quietly does two harmful things. It blames black people for their own oppression. Instead of blaming racist laws, police violence, or economic exclusion, it blames clothing, hair, tone, music, and attitude. It creates two different types of black people. It creates the good black people, and then it creates the bad black people. basically almost making it seem like the good ones deserve protection and the bad ones are disposable. This does not challenge racism or fight against oppression or anything at all. It just works within that system. And so, did it work? Did respectability politics get the end goal that they wanted of decreasing racism and oppression? Short answer, no. The evidence to conclude that it
trying to
didn't
come
work
in.
was
The other
that
ones are trying to get
well-dressed
out.
black people were still lynched, educated black people were still assassinated, respectable black professionals are still profiled and police and cut out of jobs.
Oh, Bullet came back last night. He was in here most of the night.
And those type of programs were implemented during the civil rights era to begin with is because no matter if they was qualified or they played the part and taught the right way, they still weren't getting the best job or the opportunity that they should have gotten. So that's when we had the civil rights era pushing for laws to make sure those things don't happen. Respectability never stopped racism. It just shifted the blame to black people.
Something I want black people to aggressively push away from is respectability politics. Because respectability politics tells us that if we present ourselves right, how we talk, how we carry ourselves, how we behave, that somehow we're able to escape violence and racism. When history literally says otherwise for us. Let's not forget, Malcolm X was articulate, well-educated, polished, and yet he was killed while wearing a suit. Same thing for him. Young, black, educated, was creating survival programs for black people, and yet he was killed in his sleep. Let's get this out the way. No amount of conformity can help black people against systems that are built on anti-blackness. But what it can do is hurt us by making us shrink or deny pieces of our own identity to make us seem acceptable. As black people, we do not owe a simulation to anyone, because blackness is not a liability that needs to be fixed.
And I think people in my generation are starting to wake up. I've seen a lot of videos of people fighting back this idea that our hair isn't good enough, it being grown out isn't presentable or is not professional. It's people showing that that's an old way of thinking and we should be proud of our hair and love our stuff. And fight back against that idea and not pushing those ideas to our kids or to the younger generation.
As a black man, you have to cut your hair and move up in this world, brother.
Our hair isn't good enough, it being grown out isn't presentable or is not professional. And we should be proud of our hair.
You have to cut your hair and move up in this world, brother.
So being a barber on HBCU campus, I think a lot of people were about to graduate. And the main thing I always hear them say is that they want to cut their hair low or they want to cut off their locks so they can have a quote-unquote more professional look. Now, this line of thinking is very common, especially within young black men, but it was never something that I ever really agreed with. Now, I understand wanting to have your appearance a certain way because the reality of it is your appearance is the first thing that someone is going to judge you off of. But just because your hair is long doesn't mean that it's not professional. Because I know a lot of black people and people of color that are in corporate positions, they're judges, they're lawyers, they're doctors, and they have long hair, they have long locks, they have tattoos. And
Jesus
that just further proves to me that you can still thrive in these professional positions while still authentically being yourself. Now, if you want to cut your hair because you just want something new or you just want to change your appearance, then that's different. Because I know that if I ever get tired of having locks, then they're going to be gone. But don't feel like you need to cut your hair in order to have a successful career.
If you were black and you cut your hair to look more professional, you would have been the best slave on the plantation. I promise you would have been Mass's favorite nigga. Back in May of 2024, me and my homie graduated from college. He was a psychology major, I was a biology major. For 2 months straight, my homie could not get a job. He was applying for jobs online, calling jobs, matching with random people on LinkedIn. Nothing was working. One day he tells me I'm gonna cut my hair so I can look more professional. Mind you, my homie has a Michael Jackson afro, top 3 afro in the entire Midwest. So I tell my homie, don't cut your hair, the job market just sucks right now. In July of 2024, he cut his hair. That same month, he got a job. In November of 2024, they let him go. His 4-month contract came to an end. They chose not to hire him full-time. Now my homie had no job, a shitty haircut. And I love my homie, but he was looking like a milk dud with 2 brown eyes. He
Damn.
did all that tap dance.
Can it break $1? Can it break $1? Yo, there's no way, bro. I gotta pay, bro. Who types that shit in? Yo, some dude, bro. The dude who posted about this is the GOAT, bro. I don't know who it was. I just remember reading it, bro. Whoever that guy was the GOAT. That dude, what a genius, bro. Whoever spotted this, I don't know who it was, bro. It was in pre-market. I'll back check. That was crazy. What a goat. Dude, get on Fortnite. Get on Fortnite. Dude, what is bro doing? No fucking way. They don't break one. They don't break one. If they break one, I'll hold for the weekend. If they break one, I'll hold for the weekend. If they break one, if they break 0.9, I'll hold up until 0.95.
He said, fuck it. Let this be a lesson. Never prepare for a job.
And to the parents, if you're watching this video, we understand that a lot of this stuff is out of good intentions of wanting to protect your kid and making sure they have, you know, how you was taught. You was basically taught this idea, never really gave no real explanation to it. And it turned into some version of believing that what you're saying is facts in the sense of certain hair looks better or looks presentable because of what respectability politics started and what was passed down generations and what was passed down to you. And it's not fair to you either. Same way it's not fair to your kid that you push the same ideologies to. We understand you're just trying to teach us how to play the game of racism, but at the end of the day, all you're really doing is pushing an anti-blackness that was pushed into you that could then mold into a whole generation or whole culture of people not loving themselves. And we see this with black women and not loving their hair and feeling like they have to cover it up with other people's hair, and it shows in how it morphs into just a self-hatred for things that are just in our natural state. Our hair is our most natural thing that grows out of our hair, and it's beautiful, and we done found creative ways to make it dope. And so pushing these beliefs is just pushing anti-blackness.
And yes, I'm gonna put a bonnet on my son's head every night as a purchaser. every single night. He's gonna have long hair. He's never gonna have his little Bill moment that y'all gave me, that y'all gave a lot of little black men, where y'all cut all their hair off and they was crying and begging for y'all to not cut their hair off and y'all cut it off anyway. He's never gonna have that. He's gonna have a bonnet on. He's gonna have his hair products ready. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna be ready to go. We're never gonna do that little hair situation. That little, oh, I gotta, no, we're never doing that. I'm sorry, we're never doing that.
And so I understand that in this world today, racism and oppression is still a thing. It might not be overt racism, even though that's kind of changing on social media with some people, but a lot of times it is racism that is systematic. You don't really see it. It's in the system. So I do believe we have to fight back and to stop blaming ourselves for racism. Like, that has to stop. Our hair isn't the problem. The system is the problem. And that belief system is the problem. And so let me know your thoughts in the comments. How you feel about this? What's your opinion about this? Or what's maybe some of your stories or experiences with your parents and having to cut your hair? Let us know in the comment. Let's talk about it. And I'll catch you in the next one.
No. Badass kids get in trouble at school. Not the Michael Jordan grip. You lay hands on y'all. Why he look at the camera like that?
Oh.
Mm.